Velma is even worse than we could have possibly imagined.
Hold on to your butts.
The show begins with narration from Velma. The narration sounds like she's just reading the Wikipedia synopsis of the show. She makes some, jokes, if you want to call them that, about rich people getting handed more power in origin stories, which I'm guessing this is a jab at Batman.
I think you're better than me. I am better than you.
This whole scene could just get cut out and nothing changes. We then cut to our first scene somewhat relevant to the story. Daphne's in the locker room and comes across a cockroach. Clearly this is setting up a joke, so will the show pay it off by A, the cockroach says something out of pocket, because random equals funny. B, this reminds me of the time, just like Family Guy. Or C, a cockroach sex scene. If you chose C, you'd be correct. This show is so funny, right guys? Right? The next scene will have the show being self-aware. How fun. Spending a minute talking about how pilot episodes have more nudity in them than the rest of the show, while having all the characters being shown nude on screen. What I'm choosing to question is the age of these characters. Sure, they're animated, but they all range from age 15 to 17. If you want to give the show the benefit of the doubt, maybe some are 18, but I guarantee at least one of these characters is a minor. So isn't it a little weird the show is sexualizing them like this for an unfunny and dragged out joke? Anyway, Daphne and some other girl get into a fist fight over whether nudity in a pilot is good or not, and Daphne tries to kill this girl because of it. Then out of nowhere, someone comes and hits Daphne with a big ass stick and tosses her into the lockers. We then get the first of many times the show will mention Daphne is Asian because the shit animation makes it impossible to tell she is. It's then revealed that Velma was the person who beat Daphne with the stick. So let me get this straight. The first scene with our protagonist, the show's namesake, is her coming out of the darkness in all black with a big ass stick and attempting to kill Daphne. Yeah, that's how you make a likable character. This is the kind of character I want in all my shows, all my movies. Man, why didn't this happen earlier? She even mentions that she should have hit her harder when Daphne rightfully calls her out for trying to kill her, and she wonders why everyone thinks she's a murderer. Both of these characters are now established as psychopaths who have clear mental illness and need to be locked up in a mental asylum. I also forgot to mention that they have a 15-second conversation about race-blind casting, which is clearly the show's attempt to be funny by being self-aware about the fact that the characters have mostly been race-swapped. Honestly, I don't really care, it's just the fact that all the designs are terrible and the shit art style makes it so much worse. Anyway, the scene de-escalates after the show's poor attempt at hinting at a romance between Daphne and Velma, to which Velma opens her locker and finds one of Daphne's friends dead with her brain removed. We then cut to the title card. What an opening! After that, we have Velma in custody because they think she killed this girl. It is then revealed Velma is schizophrenic and keeps having hallucinations. How fun! I'll cover them more later. We then meet the two detectives who happen to be Daphne's moms, because Daphne is adopted. We get some exposition about Velma's mom who went missing, and then Velma tries to leave the interrogation, to which both detectives respond by pulling out their firearms, even though Velma is cuffed to the table. Why? You may be wondering, what is Velma's reaction to being the main suspect in the murder?
I thought lesbians were good at solving crimes. It's like the one positive stereotype perpetuated by cop shows.
Here we go.
Not funny. Dickens rap.
The detectives call Velma a fat ass, and the show wants you to think she's ugly, to which I question why, because Velma was never ugly. She was just not as attractive as Daphne. This is a thing in both episodes, and it just confuses me. We get some more exposition about how Daphne and Velma were best friends until Daphne started hanging out with the popular kids. The detectives ask Velma to do their job or else she's gonna get arrested in 24 hours. But you see, Velma doesn't solve mysteries anymore, so she can't. Surely this will be explored throughout the entire show and all the answers won't be given in the next scene. Anyway, Velma runs into Fred and reveals why she doesn't solve mysteries anymore in the next scene. Fred is a moron. More on that later. Both Fred and Velma trauma dump for exposition. Pretty much Fred has daddy issues and Velma has mommy issues. Velma blames herself for her mom's disappearance. What is this? Possible setup for a character arc?
Please.
Yeah, but it'll probably go nowhere as that's too much to expect from this show. Anyway, Fred runs away. Because he's a moron. And then we get introduced to Shaggy. Oh boy, do I have something to say about this guy. For some unknown reason, the writers thought it'd be a good idea to use Shaggy's real name instead of the name everybody knows him by. Anyway, Shaggy's a moron too. Just like the rest of the cast, he's unfunny. Extremely unfunny, as a matter of fact. He exposition dumps some more, and now Velma needs to find a camera that this girl had before she died. When Velma gets home, she has a panic attack, and they make fun of it.
You're ruining this for me.
I was gonna cover this later, but I just can't stand it anymore. This is such a piss poor depiction of having a panic attack. It's almost like it's mocking people who have them. Every time she has one, it just does that. It's unbelievable, but it's also kind of funny for all the wrong reasons. You know what's a good depiction of a panic attack? Puss in Boots: The Last Fucking Wish. That's right. This movie does panic attacks so well. This orange little shit in boots has some of the most realistic panic attacks I have ever seen in any form of media. The scene with the fucking orange cat in boots having a panic attack because he's being chased by Death, who is an 8-foot tall wolf monster, is able to give me chills while this is the best Velma could do. Fuck off. Anyway, Velma gets attacked the next day in school, but Fred saves her and chops a kid's leg off in the process. This was actually funny as shit. Anyway, Fred saves Velma from the entire school by calling her a loser, which calms the crowd. We cut to Velma in the bathroom, to which Daphne wants to give Fred to Velma because they won't have sex. So now that Velma knows Fred is insecure, she breaks into his house to find evidence. She has another hallucination, and guess how they solve it? They walk all over Norville's feelings for Velma for comedic effect. I love this show. Anyway, Fred catches Velma with the camera, which is then revealed that Fred, brace for this, has a small dick. Yep. Fred hasn't hit puberty yet, so he tries to bribe Velma not to say anything since she bribed the other girl too. But Fred gets shot and now they think he killed the girl. Anyway, Velma goes home and another one of Daphne's friends is dead in her recycling bin. And thank the Lord, the episode is over. Unfortunately, these episodes are released in pairs, so we aren't done yet. Luckily, episode 2 is a lot less eventful, so this should be quick.
You know what 420 is, right?
Yeah, it's code for adults who still watch cartoons.
Because both her moms are police officers, Velma goes to Daphne to ask for her mom's file, since Velma's now determined to find her, and we get one of the only jokes I unironically found funny in this show.
Well, for old time's sake, I'll give you the file.
Really?
For $500.
But I immediately take that positive back as Velma shows no sympathy for the girls who were murdered in the previous episode. Sure, you can say this is a comedy and it doesn't need to take itself too seriously, but you know what else is a comedy? Into the Spider-Verse. Imagine if after Uncle Aaron died, Spider-Ham makes fun of Miles for it. Doesn't seem right, does it? Anyway, Velma's dad, who's a lawyer by the way, is representing Fred in court. I know this is so funny, the dad of the character who put him in jail is representing him. Haha! This has the potential to be funny, but it's not. It really isn't. The plan is pretty much, brace for this, use the fact that Fred is a goddamn moron to prove he's innocent. So they put Fred in makeup to make him look innocent, and it works! Until it rains and everything goes downhill. Anyway, Velma goes to ask Shaggy for $500, and of course he says yes because he's a fucking moron and he thinks he could use it to make Velma his girlfriend. Oh yeah, he's a streamer. I hate this character so much. So the rest of the episode he goes on a side quest to make $500 to win Velma over. Trying to sell his personal items and even his own kidney. Until the end where he decides to win her over with his personality. Surely this will end well. Anyway, Daphne makes a deal with Velma. She agrees to give the file if she helps her sell drugs. Yep, Daphne's a drug dealer. So for the rest of the episode, the two are selling drugs. All the drugs are conveniently named after classic catchphrases from a better show. Daphne trauma dumps about the fact she's adopted before they run into Daphne's mom while having some forced chemistry. We then get a long chase and yeah, it just kind of ends. I don't know the point of this chase. Then we get Velma trying to sell drugs to her dad. Yep. They get into an argument and come to an agreement that he'll give the $500 if she helps prove Fred is innocent. So they sit in a room with him for 2 minutes until they realize he's a man-child and not capable of basic shit like cutting his own food. So they mention he has a small dick in court and he's proven innocent. Yeah. Then he admits to the murder he didn't do because he's being made fun of. How fun. I love this show, man. I love it so much. Anyway, Daphne shows up to give Velma the file without taking the money, but we have yet another panic attack. How fun, man. So Daphne solves this problem by kissing Velma. And yeah, that's it. The episode ends. Fuck this show, man.